Hi there, my name's Ron Davey, and this is cgtoots.com. You're watching part 2 of creating a New York subway entrance. In this part, we'll be unwrapping the UVs of the subway entrance and then laying them out in the 0 to 1 area, and then from there we'll make a high poly bake now that everything's unwrapped. So let's get going here. So what we're going to do first is I'm just basically expanding all these groups here, which is just shift click on the little plus sign. I'm just hiding all the high poly stuff. That's control H if you want to hide what you have selected. If you want to hide everything that's not selected, you hit alt H. So what I'm doing here is I just selected the cement piece, and what I did was I just hit automatic unwrap. Since it's very rectangular and cubic, this environment prop, this subway entrance, I'm just going to hit automatic unwrap. I find Maya does a pretty good job of determining UV space. What it will do sometimes is flip some of your faces, but you'll see that later on in the video. So, and then what I did after that is I normally go in, have a number grid here, varying in size, but I just apply it to a material, and then I add it to the model, so you can just see everything if it's stretched, and also size. Make sure everything is proportional. So what I'm doing here is I'm just stitching the edges. If you select an edge in Maya, you'll see the corresponding one, the connecting one, light up orange, or depending on your color scheme. Uh, I have stitch allocated to a hotkey, which because you use it a lot. So basically, I'm just laying it out. I'm not stretching anything. I'm just making sure I've got the right edges lined, connecting to each other in the proper places. When it comes to baking, you're going to get seams, no matter how good you are. So you try to keep the UV seams at the bottom of objects and in objects that in areas that the player won't see as easy. So that's what I'm doing here. Is I've realized that some faces I've connected uh, were giving me UV seams I didn't really want. I prefer not to have. Excuse me. So I'm just going through, making sure everything's here. I'm placing it in, as you can tell, I'm a little anal when it comes to some things. Uh, so I'm just moving it over here out of the 0 to 1 space because I'm just going to be automatic unwrapping the whole time here. And what you want to do is you just want to make sure also that when you have objects with multiple faces, face groups, you try to sort them out into more of a square pattern. Um, it just helps you organize your UVs better, and then later on you're gonna have to do it anyways when you're trying to lay these guys out. So again, you can tell I'm just doing the signs here. I'm kind of grouping them together just for later on. It's a little easier to fit in the 0 to 1 space. So I've just got the side here, and you saw me rotate that. That's just so the texture is going to be horizontal, and it's just easier to paint a texture when you're going the right direction of how it's supposed to look. Um, and then you don't, if you have multiple, if you can do it, you don't want multiple uh, angles of things that are going to be following each other. Like because if you do a wood pattern and you have ones all over the place, it's just it's a nuisance later on to try to fix all to rotate in your texture the wood grain and all that kind of stuff, so it follows the correct pattern. So I'm just still going along here, selecting individual pieces, hitting automatic unwrap, just default settings. Um, Always work for me. So this is the side piece. It's got several pieces coming in and out of each other. So this is probably the most difficult piece to run that I've unwrapped so far. And basically, what I'm going to be doing here is I'm just straightening out some UVs that I might have messed up on. Uh, might have tweaked the vert, and so it's just slightly off. And the reason I do that is just because you'll get a better bake, and your UVs are true then if all of your edges are straight. So I finished unwrapping that, and then what I did was I just basically broke it down in pieces. It should bake out fine. So moving on, I'm going up to the top railing. This is where that design I made will be going. So I've picked the appropriate place for the bottom seam, for the UV seam. Like I said, you try to choose the best the best spot, the best edge to leave a UV seam on is where the player is least likely to see it. So usually it's down, and it's on the bottom of an object, facing away from the player. So now I'm just doing the spindles. What I'll end up doing here is I'll make one, and then I just duplicate the object, and I'll have 2 or 3 different variations of this spindle to duplicate along the side there, just to give it some variation. I've got the UV space, so why not? As you can see, I'm trying to square this out, so if I enlarge it, I'll get the maximum. But I still have a lot more to do here. I'll be shrinking it down, moving those UVs around quite a bit actually when you're trying to lay it out as and get the maximized UV space out of these things. So now I'm onto the TV. A few more pieces here, but it's just all straight edges. So just picking the edges, hitting my shortcut for stitch, edge stitch. It's located under File near the bottom. Again, this is the TV screen. All the normals will be going along these edges here, so this should turn out pretty nice. I'm just going to, since these TV screens are the same and they're actually on opposite sides of each other, you don't really need to have both unique. So what I'm doing here is I'm just snapping these points, these verts over, using V as I'm clicking. I'm just going to use the same texture on both sides there. Nobody's going to notice. Well, I mean, you will if you look at it, but obviously most players won't care. So I'm just doing the rest of the pieces on the front end here. It's tedious, especially since it's just all cubes and rectangles, but I mean it's easy. It just takes some time. After this, you get to the fun part of finally texturing after you bake the normals. And once I'm done all these UVs and I've made sure I've got everything, I'll be resizing all these, and you can tell here I just it's selecting the. I'm trying to find the right edge here actually. But I'll grab these here and I'll shrink them down, and I'll just kind of eyeball to the things I've already done. You can see me kind of like line up the grid there to see if it works out. You can get these grids just on the internet. Usually comes in like a multicolored version, but I just tinted mine because like the checkerboard, I find the multicolor really hard on the eyes, especially if you're in a gaming environment, which usually the offices are or studios are dark. The lights are turned off, so you strain your eyes quite a bit. And I highly recommend that you follow the suggestions of doctors saying that you get up every 15-20 minutes from your monitor, especially when you're doing stuff like this and your eyes just kind of get in a hypnotic state. It's so tedious. Oh, you can see there that was actually in the automatic unwrap. Maya, for some reason, sometimes flips one random face upside down. So sometimes you just have to orientate your UVs again by using the shortcut keys up in the UV editor shelf there. Uh, just left, right, up and down till you get to where you want it. So just looking for the best place to put the seam. Again, stitch edge. Maya sometimes also puts the faces very, very close together. I mean, it's computing to maximize the UV space, so sometimes, though, it's just an annoyance. Well, I noticed I had a buried face there that you'll never see, so I can delete that. Save some UV space, too, along with it. So I've just unhidden the TV just so I can get an idea of the size of grid I want here. So the front looks pretty much done. I'm just gonna Shift capital H shows. Sorry, yeah, Shift capital H shows your selection, unhides your selection. It's a handy little. I used actually the hide hotkeys, hide and show a lot. So I'm just now I've moved on to the light. Again, automatic unwrap, stitch, stitch where it makes sense. Put the edges where it makes sense too. Here they would be on the top sides because this is above the player's eye line. So now I'm just doing the light bulb. This one's super easy. It's just a box with no bottom or top face. So it's about the easiest thing you can do. So again, I'm just as I do these and I shrink them down, I try to place them how maybe I'm hoping they might end up. So see there, I've had to flip a few faces just to align it right. So when I stitch it, it doesn't stitch on top of each other. As I've said in the other video, I highly suggest making hotkeys for things you do a lot. I have one for select shell when I'm in here, so I don't have to go around selecting every little vert. I've got one for move and sew, um, to break edges, and also to sew, just to stitch edges too, or sew as Maya calls it. So I've got everything unwrapped here. And now what I'm doing is I'm going to start laying these out, but duplicating where the objects where I need to. So my spindles, like I said before, I'm going to make a few copies of them, just so there's some variation. So I've got my two. I'm going to make one more because two is when you only got two variations. It's painfully obvious that they're the same one, just alternated. So this will just be able to give me some more combinations. So I've just spread those out, so when I bake the normals, it doesn't mess up, because overlap faces can mess up your normal bacon. And you also have to. So here, you also have to. I would recommend turn off the grid that you have up that you had applied. This makes it easier on your eyes again to see what you're doing. So now what you need to do is just start laying these out into the 0 to 1 space. Um, you're going to be moving these around quite a bit. It shouldn't take you too long. You don't want to spend hours on it, but you want to try to optimize maximize these UVs to the largest area you can. Um, so it's like a puzzle actually. If you like puzzles, this is the thing for you, because you're trying to envision it in your head how you can rotate these, flip these to fit them in, just in the tightest allocation possible, so you get, like I said, maximum UV space. So I'm just moving things along here, aligning things. Again, it's just with experience when it comes to texture, and you want to keep things aligned, straight, on 90-degree angles. Um, So when you texture, you don't get those, the jagged lines, or jaggies as they're called. So I just try to align, the certain sections of UVs, just so I know they're straight. I don't have to worry about them going outside the 0 to 1. Um, so as you can tell, I've moved these around quite a bit. I'm trying to find the best spot for everything, so I can get them all in here. And you don't want to waste UV space, so you want to do a good job here and try to make a square shape out of all these UVs. So a nice thing about objects that are just frames or open-ended, you can tuck a lot of these tinier UVs in here. You want to try to keep things together, like these spindles, the signs, certain pieces of geometry, like these sides here. But unfortunately, you'll waste a lot of space doing that sometimes. Um, so you're gonna have to break them up sometimes and just keep tabs on what's what when you're doing your texturing. Some guys like to basically just lay out the colors on their texture to start off with, so you just know what you're doing, um, which you'll see me do later on, in part 3. So I'm just moving these in here. You want to give enough space between the UV islands, so when you're baking the normal, um, the padding that you're going to add, or the to the edges here, won't extend into the other sections of UVs and then pop up all over your model. So you just want to give, I'd say 4 to 5 pixels in between UV islands. And when I say islands, I mean, your complete, like, one of those pieces of railing there, a complete UV object. So I think I'm getting there. I'm almost done. You want to try to sometimes try to keep everything proportional in UV space, but some things give a bit more UV space too. Things with text on it, small objects like, let's say, a door handle. Things that are in the view, in the player's eye line very easily, you might want to give a bit more UV space. Not too much, because then you'll just things will start looking weird when things are crisper than others. But yeah, things that are low on the ground, or the player might not be able to see, don't be afraid to shrink those down, because they don't necessarily have to be the highest resolution. But it's also up to your lead too. When you do show him what you're doing, he will tell you if it's good, like if you've done a good job on it or not, or to fix things. So I'm almost done here. I'm just enlarging things here and there, not too much, because I'm displacing it. So now we're good to go here. I can actually start baking this, which I will be in this next section coming up. So there are the complete UVs.